Hey everybody, Terry here again with howtoinstallplankflooring.com. I'm here with Michael Lush and we're starting on a room that literally would be the standard for any room in the house, whether it's your kitchen, whether it's your bathroom, whether it's your living room. But Michael's built this house and we're actually on the second bedroom. He's actually going to lay this flooring in 2 days in his whole house. So we're going to get some insight on how to do that. But before we do, Michael, step us through a little bit on start to finish. When somebody says, I want to lay a floor, in your case, we're laying this on plywood. They bring the wood home from the store. What's the first thing they need to do?
Well, you need to let it acclimate, and depending from manufacturer to manufacturer, it could be, just a few days really is all you need. And that would be the case whether it's hot outside or whether it's cold outside, because the home improvement stores or whatever liquidator place you might get it from is not temperature controlled.
Right.
So you need to let it acclimate so that you don't have too much expansion and contraction when you go to lay it down.
Because if you don't let it acclimate, you just start throwing it in the day you get it, down the road, this wood could buckle.
Correct.
Because of the conditions. Okay, that's very important. Now, when you're using what we call plank flooring or tongue and groove, there's different ways we can say that. I'm just curious, is it easy to install?
Yeah, this has been the easiest floor I think I've ever installed, but it goes together real simply. It just has a tongue and a groove like Terry said, and they just interlock with each other. With some laminates you have to take it up and let it go in a little bit. It's helpful to have a mallet.
Just straight in?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, to go in, and so even your ends are tongue and grooved as well.
Okay. Now, I think from my limited knowledge, to start a room is the most important, because if you have to start right to finish right.
Correct.
Because you move in one direction. You don't start here, then go over here and meet in the middle.
Correct.
Okay. So actually we're starting a room here, and we've actually done some things. But Michael, just real quick, show us how you start straight on the wall.
Yeah, so depending on what size flooring you have, I have 5-inch flooring right here. And of course, depending on whether it's new construction or if it's remodel or something like that, I held my baseboard up so that I can actually slide my flooring up underneath if I wanted to. But most of the time, you're probably going to have to butt it into the baseboard. And so with that, you want to leave about 1/4 of an inch. Well, you have to check your manufacturer requirements, but most of them are about 1/4 of an inch is all you need to allow. And you might allow a little bit more on bigger stretches.
Right, because on your new construction, you've already had your baseboards raised. And a lot of people, it won't be new construction, so they're going to have to just lay it to where it's against the baseboard to where it comes out. You said it comes out a little bit.
Right. And they have spacers that you can purchase that are fairly inexpensive, where you can just make some 1/4-inch spacers if you want. Yeah, just something skinny that you can stick in here.
So it won't move on you.
So so it won't move on you.
So you place them in, like, I don't know, 2 feet apart all the way down?
Yeah, something like that. Now what you want to do too, which is what we've already done, is you don't want to take for granted that a wall is straight.
Well, especially in older houses when they set up a wall, sort of get low, right?
Right. So
what have we done with this little?
Yeah, so what we've done is we just use the chalk line. You can purchase that at a home improvement store for about $4 or $5 is all it is. And that's going to be one of the most helpful things, because like we said, we're about 5 inches on this plank. And so we came out about 5 1/4 from the baseboard out. And so that's where the front side of this flooring will end up right there. And so that way it gives you a nice straight line. And that way you know that your first line is straight. Now of course, you might want to check the other side of the room, check it up against this chalk line. After you chalk this line, go to the other end of the room if you can, measure it, and see if it measures about the same, because you don't want to end up with a 3-inch sliver on one side to 2 inches. So you may have to shift it a little bit to where this may have to be a little bit wider on one side and a little bit narrower, because you want it to look about even.
Okay, so your measurements on one wall will be 1, and then make sure just to make sure they're close enough. when you do move that way.
Right.
Okay, well, and I know you're laying this on plank floor, so we're not using the cushion because the moisture barrier is not as important.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Don't want to get too much involved in that, but we're not laying on a cushion. We're just basically laying it on this rosin paper, which does have a moisture barrier, correct, Michael?
Yes.
And so basically, let's say for some reason your wood didn't acclimate all the way, you're still going to have a little buffer there to keep the moisture at bay,
Right.
so your floor doesn't buckle. So
And that's on a plywood substrate. So if you were with a concrete floor, you would almost be required
to use a cushion.
to use the cushions.
Because concrete draws moisture.
Right.
Gotcha,
Right.
gotcha. Okay, well, so this is the beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to let Michael work. We're actually going to show you how he notches corners where sometimes it may get a little tricky. So we're going to let him work until he gets to his vents, to his corners, and we'll join you again in a few minutes. I'm going to pause the video, but the video will run continuously. Okay, we'll see you in a minute. Hey everybody, back here with Terry with howtoinstallplankflooring.com. Now we're in the midst of this room, and Michael has come through and he's done a few notches that we'll explain a little bit later. But there's one thing that I really wanted to emphasize, and as Michael works, I want you to notice how when he comes into a room, how he staggers it. In other words, he places this here. See how he's staggering it? And what I mean by that is, you wouldn't come into a room and just put piece on piece on piece on piece, and you see where you've got this gap here. Now, Michael, explain to us why somebody wouldn't just start piecing together and have these grooves here.
Yeah, you got to start from one side and work to the other side, and you want to make sure that your joints. It's kind of like brick. You don't want your joints to all be in the same spot, so you have to break those up. Manufacturers may depend different, or want you to stagger it differently, but usually about 6 inches is what you want on a lap joint.
So what you're saying is this gives it enforcement, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the fact that you're staggering it and not all the pieces are laying
Correct.
like that.
Correct.
Now, so if I'm doing this, which I am, what if I started laying like this, and I'm staggering it, but I've got this gap here? Well, can I just go ahead and say, well, I'll just put this here? What would happen?
Well, you're putting the cart before the horse. You need to make sure that you get these pieces in there first before you start on this one.
Okay.
So that's why we kind of staggered it out like this. So this one, now you got to start cutting these pieces that go to the wall and finish up some runs.
Okay, that's a good point. So when we see you again in just a few seconds, we're going to actually be notching corners here. And Rachel, if you come here, I'll just step out of Michael's way for a minute. See these corners here? These pieces have been notched. Now what happens is, and like I said, we're going to show you this in detail, but we're going to learn how to do that custom fit. Okay, it's not hard. You just got to take a few extra, minutes, Michael, seconds?
Yeah, minutes.
It's one measurement and the cut, and you get this flush feel to your house. So we're going to learn how to do that in a few minutes, and see you in a minute. Hey everybody, Terry Bradley again back here, howtoinstallplankflooring.com. Now one of the biggest things that people have issues with when they're installing floors, I guess Michael can attest to this, is actually room transitioning. Would you agree with that, Michael?
Yeah.
On how to transition from room to room. Mm-hmm. Now in this situation, we're in the bedroom, but now we're transitioning out to the hall. And what happens is when you reach situations like this, and I'm not going to criticize the industry, Michael, but some people can take shortcuts here, right? Mm-hmm. And
yeah, because most of the time, what you like to see, well, I say most of the time, but all the time, what you like to see is for it to go up underneath the casing, just like that. And so it's supposed to be able to slide up in there. Mm-hmm. Which some installers do have jam saws, and I think you talked about that, oscillating saws. You can get one of those handheld flush cuts.
Real quick, I'm going to go over the list of equipment to use at the end of this video. So whatever Michael's using, we're going to give you how to use it and probably give you the economical alternative.
Yeah, so basically I know, because cut these off, that I know exactly where that all my door jambs and casings are at the correct height, because you want it to slide up underneath there. So anyways, what I'm going to do now is, now you can kind of see I'm kind of in a position where I can run it any way I want it to. But the easiest way is to pull it to one side or the other, and what I mean by that is I want my piece to end up on one side of the door or the other. And that is because if I get a big piece in here like this, I can't rock it in there. So I have to get it to go from one side in so far, and then I'll take this piece and snap it in there and go up underneath.
So go all the way through, so you can start instead of jack-legging it through.
Right.
Okay, and you're gonna do this by some measurement, okay, and
Yeah.
I'll let you take over on that.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm putting this blue tape on there so I can see really well, because this, especially since this stuff's so dark. So I'm going to measure to this point right here in the casing, and I got about 1.25 inches. I want to make sure that it goes up underneath there at least 1/4 of an inch, at least 1/4. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. There is how far out I want that to go. And then this mark I can just put on there anywhere I want to. So I'll put this mark, let's say right here. And the reason is because I want this piece to be able to lock in. And so this seems like a good spot to me. So then all I can do, put another mark out here on the inside of this casing, so it goes up in there just a little bit. That's what we want.
So basically,
now I've got this notch that I
Right,
need
so
to
basically
take
you're creating the notch with your tape
out.
and just shoving it in there, so when you go out and cut it, it's just gonna fit like a custom fit.
Yep.
Okay, and this is what makes room transitioning easy.
Yeah, and I do it like this instead of one big piece, not just because of accessibility, but also you don't want to splice right there. You want to be able to cut it on one piece, make one cut, and you're done.
Okay, so you're gonna go cut?
Yep.
Okay, and we'll see you in a minute. Hey everybody, we're here with Michael. He just made the measurements that you saw on there, so he's gonna step over to the miter saw, or actually, the miter saw.
Yeah, I'm going to do it on the miter saw.
Miter saw, and
Now again, you could do this all with a jigsaw if you wanted to, because, you know, most homeowners aren't going to have just a miter saw just laying out and around. So, anyway, in this case, I'm just going to cut